Okay.
Welcome back, guys, to the Champion Blueprint podcast. And today's guest is Lynn Hoch. Lynn Hoch is from South Central Iowa, and he shoots in the senior pro class. And yeah, I wanted to talk about your indoor season. First time I've ever seen you before, and you've shot amazing. And you got second place at Foley, and wasn't that your first 3D tournament?
Yeah, my first 3D ASA ever. I just signed up like a week and a half ago before the tournament.
Yeah, you see,
They had a
like
note.
that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they had a guy back out on the carload down. It's like, hey, do you want to go? I said, you know something? I might do that.
Yeah.
So
So
since I retired, I said, well, I have nothing to hold me back, so I might as well go.
yeah. Now, I feel like at that tournament, your only competition was probably Tim. Like, I feel like a lot of people probably shot bad, or maybe Tim is just really good. What are your thoughts on that?
I had, it's one of them deals. I had really little expectations, but I know if I could get a streak going that I could probably shoot with the guys. But there's so many variables outdoors that, I didn't know what to expect really. So I know I could shoot with the guys indoors, or I felt that I could. And I didn't know how the ASA, if I could get myself to aim on the lower 12s all that well. The first day I didn't do a very good job of it. Then I switched to a different pin and kind of like, I got to get more aggressive with this. They're giving you 12 rings to shoot. You probably ought to try to shoot them. So, there's a lot of good shooters around. I was just worried about my setup, and I thought I had a pretty good setup going in. I was hit behind the pin at home. Worked on it quite a bit, and just I just see if I could execute shots down there and try to hit some 12 rings.
So why did you swap to a bigger pin?
I went to a smaller pin, actually. I went to a 19, and I've always shot a 19 with 3D. Now, this was my first 3D my last 3D, national 3D, was the IBO in Bedford, Indiana in 2010. And so I was still an amateur at the time. So after Saturday, it's like I just couldn't feel. And I shot the practice round. I basically shot 16 up on the practice round on Thursday. Then I shot 12 up on the team round on Thursday afternoon. So I thought I had a pretty good setup that I could see pretty well. But it seemed like on Friday when we shot for score that I just couldn't, the 19,000s took a little too much room up. And I just didn't want to come down far enough. It felt like I was hitting down in the 8s. It's like, I'm more of a conservative guy anyway, and I really didn't want to get down that low. So I picked up a 10,000s pin on Thursday, and I had it in my chair. But it's like, so I left the range on Friday shooting 8 up with a glance out and a couple stupid mistakes on shooting a couple uppers on that I shouldn't be doing. But I went right to the bags and put my 10,000s pin in, and I could just see the groups just kind of shrink. I said, okay, we'll see what it brings. I end up, going to that 10,000s pin. It felt like I get down in the 12 ring, lower in the 10 ring, and I could aim better because them ranges were an average of 44 yards or something like that. So on some smaller targets, you need a smaller pin to get there. And it just took too much room up where I just wasn't safe aiming that low on Friday, when I kind of like, okay, I need to get more aggressive on Saturday and shoot and see if I can hit some of these. And I hit half of them. So I shot 20 up, and I felt that wasn't enough either. So,
wow. Okay. So for context, did you shoot 6 up the first day?
I shot 8 up on first. The problem was when we obviously they kept me there. This was all new about the scoring and everything like that. So I'd never done it before. So not that it's hard or anything. It's just no big deal. They kept the running total for the second day. Well, I think someone wrote down 6 up instead of 8 up. And when they put the leaderboard up, they had me at 6 up starting the day when it was actually 8 up. And I really wasn't keeping score in my head. I was just trying to shoot 12 rings to make good shots. So, and I thought I had a pretty good, I thought I could catch Tim, but if I'm hitting him, I'm thinking everybody else is probably hitting him, but that wasn't the case. So obviously I haven't been doing this a long time at all. So, but I figure if I was hitting these 12 rings, and other guys probably were too, a lot. So
For sure. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your sight picture setup. So your peep aperture and your clarifier, and then which lens you're using and the power of that lens.
Well, I was going to start off with a 41 millimeter Excel housing, and I couldn't get a lens here fast enough for a 6-power. And I thought I was shooting a 4-power. I was like, gosh, I have to go. I have to shoot a 6-power. I know I have to shoot a 6-power. So I put a 6-power in my 31 housing, and that seemed to do the trick. So I'm shooting a 365 doublet lens, 6-power with I was shooting a 19 thousandths pin, but a green fiber 10 thousandths pin, shooting a Hamsky A+ clarifier. And I did change my peep. I'm not so sure what size I have with that. I would have to look.
Perfect. That sounds really good. So is your target and pin pretty clear at the same time?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's exactly what you need. That's why the A+ is so popular with Hamsky. I feel like a B is probably for most people too strong on a 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
So indoors, it didn't help out because I couldn't see anything indoors on the shoot off. I could hardly see any lines. So
yeah, what was your peep aperture size?
I will have to look. I don't even know. I don't know. So I would have to look. It's a little bigger than I shoot indoors. I did have the one for indoors in, but I changed it to a bigger one. I actually shot an indoor 3D and I couldn't see nothing. So I went to a bigger, so I could actually see the outside of my scope, so I could see my level a little bit better. And that made huge difference. When you get older eyes, you want as much light as you can coming in. So
absolutely. So how was the shoot off?
I told myself I would try to shoot a 12 right off the bat, and I hit a little bit high, or a lot high, but I was in the 10 ring. Then on the coyote, I'd probably try to shoot a 14 if I could shoot a 12 and put a little pressure on Tim, and that didn't quite pan out. So I didn't shoot a 12, and I did, I can't really aim at a 14 if I can't hit a 12. Then I shot right on the coyote just a little bit on the 12 ring, and I ended up shooting all 5 10s. And I was close on the turkey, and I was close on another one, but I just couldn't hit a 12 for some reason. I ended up shooting a 12th on the 6th arrow, but
yeah, it was dark.
It was dark. Yeah. I'm sorry. That was I'm back.
No worries.
Always something. My apertures. Oh gosh, I was looking at my kit here. I did pick up a new kit down there. It has to be 330 seconds. So yeah. So it seems like a pretty good setup anyway.
Yeah, 330 seconds is very popular in 3D.
Yeah. So getting back to the it was almost like I'm kind of conservative to begin with, and it's one of them deals. If I would have had more, I don't want to say it's not like I don't want to win, because I wanted to win the tournament, but I also want to protect the podium too, for the most part, because I ain't been doing this my first ASA shoot. So I think if I'd have had more ASAs under my belt, I may have had a different approach on the shoot off. I'd not looked at these targets whatsoever. So I'm the whole weekend, I'm looking at binoculars, looking at spots, and I'm just trying to hit that spot. Obviously, if you shoot more of the targets, you're going to know where things are at. As you see them in darkness, sunlight, you're going to see where everything's at. You're going to know where the 14 rings is at. You got a pretty good idea where they're at. me not knowing where, I mean, it's not like I don't know where they're at, but precisely where they're at. So
I would agree.
lack of experience was probably the worst thing for me there.
Absolutely. How did you like the Black Panther?
I had no problems with that.
Okay.
On the Black Panther on the course, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was that a bore? Yeah. For some reason, it was pretty sunny out. I don't seem to have a problem on that thing for some reason.
Okay.
I usually have problems on some easy targets for some reason. I had one lean and doe that I could see a sunspot on, and I shot a little bit high, 37 yards. But as far as the Black Panther, I kind of enjoy that target. It seems like I can aim pretty well on it, for the most part.
Yeah.
I think we all have targets where we kind of aim well on things and we don't aim well on things. And like the Wolverine, from the practice range to that thing, I think I 12'd it every time I shot it. So, and I think it's more about where the 12 ring's at, come off that hump and come down low about 3 inches or whatever it is. I mean, it seems like I can visualize that pretty well.
Exactly. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about like your start in archery. So how did you get into archery in the first place?
Well, if anybody follows me, they know I trap quite a bit, or I had trapped back in the day quite a bit. And my dad got me into archery. He started shooting probably when he retired, maybe 1986, 1987, something like that. Started bow hunting, and there was one year where it snowed a tremendous amount, and I really couldn't trap that well. So I grabbed his bow and started shooting. And I say right around 1989, 1990s when I started just shooting, and I shot fingers until 2004. Then I said, well, I'll go to a release. And I'd shot some smaller tournaments with shooting fingers. That was kind of the thing back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, is shooting fingers. A lot of finger shooters in central Iowa. And so we built a bow shop in the town I grew up in. I grew up in a town of about 200 people, and we built a range up there. And Friday night, we'd have a lot of bow hunters. We'd have 20, 25 bow hunters show up, just shoot and have fun, hit ping pong balls, and just order dinner and just have a good time, during the winter time. And someone moved in from out of town, Vermont, and I'd been shooting a release for about a year. And the old punchy, but he put a Scott hinge in my hand. He goes, "You ever shot one of these?" Like, no. Why would I shoot one of them? And that's kind of changed my life.
Wow.
You know what? So, and I shot it with my hunting bow. It's like, huh. So, I was just shooting. And the next day, I think I called Lancaster and ordered one, or wherever I ordered it from. And it actually had a Zenith head on it. And Zenith, I don't think is business anymore with the releases. But I called Zenith and got a Zenith head for it, and didn't use the Scott head on it, and started shooting a hinge. And I started putting some crazy scores up here locally on the 3D course. And it's like, you're cheating, the rumors of archery, you're cheating until you're proven innocent, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I told my dad, I said, I really got to stop shooting 3Ds with you because, I'm hearing this mumble. Not I really cared. I knew what I knew. So, but I ended up shooting with some other guy, and it's like, holy crap, so, and one of the guys asked me, it's like, you ever tried indoor? So yeah, I shot, paper targets, fingers and stuff like that, but I've never really shot it. And so I put a bow together, set up, and mid-December sometime, 07, I believe, something like that. And this is after I shot a lot of 3D outdoors. We used to have a Midwest Open, Midwest IBO Triple Crown around here between Kansas and Iowa and Nebraska. And so some guy asked me about shooting indoors. So I actually put a 5-spot up and shot a 353X the first time I ever shot a 5-spot with a release. And with the hinge, of course. I was shooting a Hoyt Ultra Elite and actually went to the Iowa Pro-Am 2 weeks later and shot the bow hunter trophy class. And that was the last time I ever shot trophy class. So,
Wow.
and yeah, so it's like, then I realized that why is he having me shooting these 5-spots? Like, I realized like you can make so many points or lose so many points on the Vegas round. The second day, it's like I put the 5-spots away and started shooting the Vegas rounds. Then a year later, I went to Louisville that year, indoor nationals that same year, and I actually shot a 60X on my second day. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I shot a 4 on the first day. I had a little higher expectations, and I had a meltdown at State Indoor that year too. So I had a dumpster fire, a couple of dumpster fires that year. The only time I ever shot a couple 4s, and went into mental management. And it's the best thing probably ever happened to me.
Okay. So tell us
You
a
know
little
how
bit.
things happen.
Tell us a little bit about your mental game and like anything that you do for your mental game.
It's just I try to make good shots, and I try to, there's a few guys on the lines nowadays try to get in your head, stuff like that. And when you know it's coming, you kind of expect it. So that does not bother me whatsoever anymore. And they started, a couple guys try to get in my head in 2010 when I broke the national record in Louisville indoor nationals with a 119 and bow hunter. A couple guys said some things and stuff like that on the lines, like, and just keep on shooting. And I like to practice like I'm in a tournament, and I like to shoot a tournament like I'm in practice. And when it all goes back to just make good shots, just tell yourself to make good shots, and don't seem to get rattled too much anymore. I'm a little disappointed in my Vegas third day, second half, but it wasn't from nerves. It was, I think I was over aiming quite a bit coming off the back wall, shot some high arrows. I wasn't shaking. Yeah. So I know it looks from the outside in, it's probably had he choked and blew it, stuff like that. And it wasn't the case. I mean, I mentally had every end prepared in my head to win it. So every end planned out, every arrow planned out, making good shots, watching the arrow go in the center of the target, and, had it all planned out to the end, and it just didn't happen. So obviously it wasn't good enough. So, and after shooting a 900 at Rushmore, I had no doubt that I could do it in Vegas. I mean, the confidence wasn't a problem. So the mental game comes with confidence, no matter what anybody says, what anybody does. If you got the confidence in your setup and yourself, no matter how much talking, how much, center of the center. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, right? Hit the center of the center. So, but it goes back to one arrow at a time, make good shots, be in that one arrow moment, and make that best shot as you can. Don't get too big of a rush to shoot your arrows.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. You have to have confidence. And one thing I would like to add that I tell a lot of people about nerves, you seem to be a guy that doesn't really get rattled. I believe that if you're nervous, I think it's selfish. Like, that's a very extreme way of looking at it. I just don't tolerate it. And if I feel myself getting nervous, I will. I'll just tell myself that, being nervous is being selfish. And usually I'll just focus on the task at hand, focus on what you're supposed to do, and just expect good things from it.
I would say the most nervous I have ever been has been at smaller tournaments. We had a state indoor, I remember what year it was, and I was shaking like a leaf. It seemed like the bigger the tournament, the less shaking I do. Like that shoot off from Foley, that did not bother me whatsoever. I had a job to do, I had a task to do. Yes. And I was more focused on that. I just, everything else was blanked out and doing my thing. So the smaller tournaments, because when you go to bigger tournaments, when you go to the smaller ones, the local people are there, and you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't type deal, and a lot of expectations from watching or people watching you. Show, I watched him, whatever, watch the scores, and they're expecting perfection at the local level. And it's like, no, you're not going to get that every time. I have a lot more focus in general at bigger tournaments, and it needs to be.
For sure. So tell us a little bit about your indoor season.
Well, again, I hunted like 32 days straight. Headed off to I retired in June, July 1st, basically. So I had a little time. I had some pretty good setups. I was contemplating 2 different bows to take the Hoosier. So I took them both, ended up shooting the Dominator, shot a 60X the first day, felt good about it. And the second day was pretty much a dumpster fire for everybody in the senior pro class. Nobody stepped up and wanted to take it. We all shot horrible. You could tell it was December. It was just horrible. But that being said, that's probably the best thing that happened to me personally this year, because if you come out of the gates on fire, you think, oh, your setup's great. You don't, and you really don't know until you get under a tournament atmosphere. And after that tournament, I changed a few things and worked on a lot about myself, and changed bows, changed releases, changed a little bit of different arrow. Same arrow, went from feathers to vanes. And when I took them out there, it just seemed like in practice, my groups just shrunk down. So when you made mistakes, matter of fact, I'd been shooting that bow all year, and I finally tuned it this last weekend because I seen a little bit of kick to it. I had a tear to it, but they were hitting center, so I didn't worry about it. But I had a little knot issue inside the D loop, so I had retied that and did a couple things. So anyway, the indoor season, Hoosier was a awakening to how my setup probably wasn't prepared the second day. And I was just dancing around the the baby X all day Sunday, and I just couldn't make it happen. So I didn't think my setup was that forgiving. It was good enough for a 60X on Saturday, but wasn't good enough to, 17, 18Xs, whatever it was on Sunday. It was just pitiful. And none of us, Keith Trail won, I got second. Michael Hubert got third. And we were laughing about it because Darren Christianberry was like 7 points back on. It's like, if we'd have shot a 450, Darren would have caught us. So that's how much of us we stunk. But anyway, but that was the eye opener for the year, and come back home and pretty much worked on myself, grabbed a different bow, played with some weights, distribution on the sidebar, and went to Midwest Open and shot a 60X the first day. I knew I had it. And then the Sunday is where, that's a test is obviously for everybody, the Vegas round. And obviously on Pro-Am scoring, you can't give them back. And I ended up shooting a 28X on Sunday, dropped my last arrow. Everything was really smooth. And I will say this, I want to back up a little bit. We talked about tournament nerves and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm one of them guys that you hear performers, not to say I'm a performer or anything like that, but you hear about performers wanting to puke before they go on stage. I'm that guy. My build up to anxiety before tournaments is not very good. But once I get the bow in my hand up on the line or in practice, I'm good. But the build up to it just sucks. It just literally sucks. Anyway, so once I got up on the line on that second day, I actually was wanting to get up on the line in Springfield, Illinois, and execute shots. I wanted to go up there because it feels like the X-ring was this big, and you just wanted to put them in there. And that was my first professional senior win at a national. It wasn't that super big. He was there. It wasn't that big a tournament, but it's still a double scorecard system. It's not like a couple guys in the senior class weren't there. I mean, there was some shooters there. So it was my first win, and at that level. And then off to where we go next? Rushmore Rumble. Felt very prepared for that, and shot basically 60-10 rings opening day, and had 3 guys on my tail. Shot 59s in South Dakota. That the same. It's like, okay, just keep on doing what you're doing, make good shots, and end up shooting a 300 the second day and won it with a perfect 900. And so yeah, and then I couldn't make land, and then we shot the Iowa Pro-Am. The Iowa Pro-Am was a little rocky. Shot a 60X on the first day on the 5 spot. So I've been getting pretty much shooting 60Xs on that first day. So I've been doing pretty good the first day on these first 4 tournaments, making them all count and basically shooting perfect scores, putting yourself in position to do well. And didn't shoot all the best on the second day to Iowa, but it was good enough for the win. Got in a shoot off. It's like, what are you doing? Just put 3 X's in there and get it over with. It's like, I shouldn't even drop down that far, because you just miss an X's. You know how it is to miss X's, and it just kind of sucks where you just can't. You just miss them by just here and there, and it's like just make 3 good shots and get it over with and be done with it and just win this stupid thing. So there was 3 wins in a row there. Couldn't make Lancaster because of the family matter. My daughter had a couple issues, but anyway, off to Vegas and had no issues. Shot good practice. Really, really just taking one arrow at a time, and my plan was to shoot a 900. It's as simple as that, and had no other things besides that of shooting a 900. And opened up the first day and shot a 300. And it's like, well, there's one, and no pressure. Just, there was a little bit of pressure. I was a little nervous, but not super bad. Just, it's almost like you need a little bit of nervousness to keep you on edge. And came in the second day and shot another 300. And okay, here, that's part of the plan. You picture all this, you visualize all this, and you plan on implementing everything. And me and Keith talked. We're going to grab top targets on the third day and peer it up and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I'm here to be chased. This is where you want to be. What else can you ask for? The only guy cleaning the senior class, and you can't be beaten if you shoot perfect and you just make good shots. And the first half, shot 13 out of 15 X's. It's like, okay, we're rolling good shots, quality shots. And we switched the half. Keith gave me a big old hug and trying to play the game. And it's like, okay, the gamesmanship is played, because the only way he's going to catch it and win is if I drop one and give him a shot. And I had no intention to let anybody in whatsoever, just to keep it's only 15 more arrows. That's only, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of practice. You shoot 15 arrows, you're done. And started off the second half, dropped the bottom. It was an X. It's like, okay, tell yourself, don't hang up on this third arrow, make a good shot. And it broke plenty early, more earlier than I would want to. And so, well, it'll catch. They all catch. Don't see any. I look down there, it's like, crap, that didn't catch. And it's like, thinking to myself, like, that's the first 9 I've shot in like 2 months. It's like, so it did rattle me a little bit. Went up high, a little bit left, and okay. So came back to the next end and shot 3 X's, and I ended up shooting 2 more 9s. They were up high. They were just out, a sliver out, but they were out. And don't know if I was coming. I think I was coming off the back wall. I caught myself the last day in Vegas playing it with X's, probably over aiming, not worried about really pulling against that back wall and making good quality shots on that second half. And it's Vegas. So I couldn't eject out of that round fast enough, but on the second half. But and then what else was after that? That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just practice for indoor nationals, and then I got asked to go to Foley, and yeah. So it's like,
Awesome.
and I don't want to tell anybody, but when they asked me, it's like, I really don't want to tear my indoor bow down, stuff like that. I actually went on eBay and bought a bow for that. I did. I had enough contingency money and winnings, but it's like, something. Well, they told me in Vegas that PSC was so far behind on limbs and stuff because the massive ordering coming in. It was going to be a wait. It's like, something I really want to try a shoot down pro because it's a little quicker. I like my Super X. It's like, I really want to try one of them. It's like, I found a PSE dealer and they had one in stock. So I had it within a couple of days, had my gas bowstrings in a couple of days and put it together and took it to Foley. And I thought I had a pretty good setup and it shot well for me.
Awesome.
So,
which cam are you running on that bow right now?
The SE cam. It's the same cams for all of them. Okay. That shoot down pro is a little more parallel, but it's a little quicker. It's got a little different feel to it from the Super, but yeah. I don't know if I'll ever shoot a different cam just because it's so smooth.
Yes.
But I did find myself when I got super, super tired or a little bit tired, I would come off that back wall, but that's nothing new for me. I did that in 2012 in Vegas. I was clean until the 8th in the first arrow, and I shot it up high also. Shot an 899 out there in the regular pro class. So,
wow.
So high arrows. When you talk about high arrows, that's what I did that's what I did in Foley on my 2.8s above it's like you feel like the shot's good, but if you do shoot high, I got to be careful when I shoot them uppers. Because if I do come off, if I do get concentrated too much on aiming, I may come off that wall a little bit. I'll lose a little bit of back on there, back tension on my shot, and it'll come up on me a little bit. So,
yeah. So, which release are you running, and how do you have it set up?
I am shooting the HBC Flex. I shot Scott since 2005, and I switched last summer. Before the outdoor target in Yankton and the Dakota Classic in Yankton. So I'm shooting HBC Flex and with no click. I've never shot a click in a release.
Okay.
So
I don't like that.
I don't like that click next to my ear for one thing. And it's like, just hold on until the shot breaks. Just hold on until the shot breaks. I don't need a warning sign. I think it's honest and pure when you pull back and you just and I will say this, most of my misses is all back here because my pin usually sits there and it's like, please just go freaking off. It's there. Yeah. It's there. Just go off.
So how do you execute the shot? Like, what do you focus on with the no click?
I try to get my back engaged the best I can. And when I shoot my best, my back gets fully engaged about 3/4 of the way draw on the way back, and try to even off my fingers best I can. And when I engage my back, it just pretty much center punches all the time as best I can. So I try to use my back muscles the best I can. Not every time. Being younger, I probably could. I try to, but it doesn't always happen. So usually I can just increase my tension on my fingers and the release will go off.
Okay. So
I've set them off probably 3 different ways in a tournament. I know it sounds crazy, but I've set the release off probably that many ways in tournaments.
Yeah.
So
very nice. So you're just evening out the tension on your fingers.
As best I can. I've usually got a lot of back tension. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my back, and I can engage that muscle pretty good on my back. So I don't use a lot of holding weight. I usually right around 14 and a half, 15 pounds, if that. And it seems like the less holding weight I have, the easier it is to engage my muscles because I'm not holding them. to me, when you deal with archery, I know how everybody talks about the holding weight. That's fine. And that's fine. It's all personal preference. But to me, it's like lifting weights. The more you lift, the more you shake. Well, I don't need to shake, and I don't need tension in my shot. I don't need tension whatsoever. I need calmness and just executing my muscle. If I can get in that back muscle, they're there.
Yeah.
The question is, they're there. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. They're there. The question is, when you get to a tournament, and there's been many tournaments where I've had to limp through something. I lost my back halfway through or 3/4 of the way through. I lost the feeling, not the feeling, but just the way I was engaging my back muscle, and you kind of have to rough it through. So,
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's very good to know. There's a few guys that shoot no click, and I feel like if you do shoot a hinge, you're either super pro click or you're super pro no click, and you just stick with it. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the click next to my ear. I don't need to be. Well, I suppose there is some shallow clicks where it's not too loud, but I don't need that click next to my ear to make me alert for anything. I mean, I'm so worried about aiming and executing. If I do my part, it'll fire.
Absolutely. So for Hoosier, you said that you made a lot of changes. Bow.
Yeah, I made 3 changes.
Feathers, some stabilization. Tell us a little bit about those changes.
Well, this is the first year I've ever shot a 15-inch back bar. I've always shot a 12 or a 10. So I was contemplating which bow to shoot, the Dominator or the Super X37. And this is what I basically boiled down to. Both bows are shooting well, but the Super X is a little lighter. That Dominator's pretty good riser, and I only like about an 8 3/4 pound mass weight bow. So going with that Supra, I mean, obviously the same cams on both bows. Going with that Supra, the whole mass weight of that bow is a lot lighter. I can put the weights on the stabilizers or where I want them, because if I want mass weight, I can always add weight to the riser if I wanted to, but I don't have to. I could put them on the ends. So I went with 7 out front and 21 on the side on the back bar. And I played with the sidebar in practice, and I was messing around, moving it in and out, moving it up and down. I finally found a sweet spot that's like, okay, I kind of like that. It's just like, okay, my pin set still, the execution, and more importantly than anything, when the shot fired, it was just there. There was none of this bad English type stuff. I mean, the reaction when the bow fired was there was no movement. So I knew I found it where it was at.
Exactly.
So I waited a day and tried it again. It's like, okay, it's the same things that I seen yesterday. So I knew I found it where the sidebar needed to be. It was more about after the shot or during the shot execution, when you was pulling, when you was trying to engage this release, how the bow was reacting, when from a soft shot to a hard shot, everything in general, I knew I'd found it because of that, how it was reacting.
Right.
So after the horrible scoring on after the Hoosier, I come back and I can decide where to put the weight on the little bit smaller riser bow. If you're into mass weight, obviously shoot a big riser. If you don't, younger guys like yourself probably shoot a heavy mass weight bow. Well, that's great. It's just not for me. It never has been for me because you try to shoot about 8 3/4 with about 14, 15 pounds of holding weight. And if I execute my shot, they go there. So I had some arrows set up last year that had veins on it that I ended up shooting. And I thought, well, I've always been kind of a feather guy indoors. So I'll put some feathers on some arrows and shot it. It's like, let me try some different arrows just to play with. Got plenty of time. I can test them. I can always go back to what I've been doing. And just like I said, the groups they just seemed like the veins on the back end, the extra weight on the back end of that arrow seemed to I don't know if it's stabilization. I don't know what it was, the weight. It just seemed like I started shooting center of center of center. It just seemed like the arrows were closer to the center. So I rolled with them. So the bow, the arrows, and the stabilizers, just by playing with all that stuff, made a tremendous amount of difference.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I went to a 15 inch. I don't think I shot a 15 in. I don't know if I shot a 15 in Hoosier or if I didn't write that down. If I shot a 12 in Hoosier and I went to a 15 before that or after, I knew I played with the sidebar after Hoosier because I didn't like it, the way everything is reacting. I knew I could make it, or I thought I could make it better.
Okay.
So
what do you mean by that?
Just how the bow reacted, how the bow aimed, pretty much how it reacted during the shot. Because for the most part, I don't leave the 10 ring very often with my dot in a tournament at all. It's all about when I start to execute, that's when everything goes down or good. Because I can get it full draw, I can just put it there and it just sits there. It's when I come back here, and obviously you're on the back end of that arrow, you're going to influence that arrow quite a bit by whatever you do back here. Because you can be shaking like a leaf up here or steady, but if you screwed up back here, most likely that's where I fail at anyway. The smoother I am back here, the center, more center it is back there. So during that process of executing that 5 to 7 seconds where you execute that shot, the stabilization, everything, cam timing, everything matters. And I felt with that 15-inch bar and where I moved the weights at, that 5-second period was tremendously better.
Yes.
So, and that's where when it shot fire, it's like, okay, it's there. It's hit behind the pin. It's center of center. And that's when I went into the Midwest Open and basically proved to myself that it was the right move. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's not a lot of holding weight. That's fine.
No.
I actually made a huge change before Foley. I was running over 20 pounds of holding weight, and I tried 75% let off, and I was running like 15, and it was really easy to aim, and it didn't shake like you said. There was no excess shake. So
that's the way I look at it. Yeah.
It's like it's like if you do run a ton of holding weight, you have to run a ton of bar weight. But
Correct.
if you want to have something that's really easy to aim, running a little less holding weight is nice. So
to me, it's easier to get softer hands during the process with less holding weight and less everything, in my opinion. Because obviously we use our hands for everything that we do, and to get them hands softened up and I wouldn't say relaxed, but consistent throughout a tournament. And you want your hands to feel the same from arrow 1 to arrow 60 or however many you're shooting. And that's hard to do because hands, tense up and relax and all that fun stuff. And that's why it's so individual to get it to fit yourself.
Absolutely. Speaking of fitting yourself, what is your process for making sure that your bow fits you well?
Well, I've got some notes down here from a long time ago. I shot 29 inches for a long time, 29 1/4. I'm actually shooting 29 3/4 inch draw length right now. I actually have a Easton measuring arrow with a black mark on it that I make sure. So I go off the grip, measure back to the string, mark it on my T-square, transfer that mark from the nock up to the riser. So every bow I have has got a black Sharpie mark right there in my true draw. So when I put it on the draw machine, I need 28 inches to that black mark. Yep. So I actually have some hopefully coming on the market that makes that easier to do that with. So, but yeah, I make sure I set that at 28 inches to give me my 1 3/4 for AMO to get me 29 3/4, and that's pretty much where I need to be for the most part.
Okay. So that's a great process. That's an excellent
Yeah. So
process.
so I've had that Easton Mason arrow. What's so funny about it is that before when I was shooting fingers back in the day, just a little story here. I obviously hang out at the bow shop in Des Moines, blah 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 after work, and there was a professional at the time that shot out of that shop. He goes, "Man, I just shoot this bow a lot better than this other bow." He had them side by side. It's like, well, I'm not. He didn't know why, and it's like, have you ever measured the draw length? Well, yeah. If you go off this, it's this. Like, dude, you can't go off anything on them cams, off anything on that bow.
Yes.
You got to put an arrow on that, and you got to see your true draw. Well, come to find out, both bows he thought were identical was 3/4 inch off.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and he was
Man.
shooting professional at the time, and he wasn't that bad. He was a pretty good shooter. So anyway, yeah, and it was an old bow hunter, a young bow hunter, telling him like, okay, this is where you have to have it, because I listened to a guy, trying to figure out, draw length, and understood exactly what he was talking about and what the process was. So I grabbed the Easton Mason arrow probably 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And I still got a black mark on it for 27.25 for 29 inches, and I'm up to 28. I got a little O-ring on it now where I know 28 is where I need to be, right on that black sharpie marker on my riser. And I know right there is where my draw length, and for the most part, between 36 to 38 inch axle bows for the most part.
Right. So for clarification with people, is that black Sharpie mark, is that in line with the burger hole, which is in line with the grip?
I can show you.
Yeah.
I can show you. There's my indoor bow right there. See that Sharpie marker right there?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I take a T-square, put it right to here, measure back to my string, then I transfer this to there, sharp. So it's basically up from that grip, straight up.
Okay. I see that.
So when I'm putting a draw on my short, I need 28 inches right to there, which is basically right to here.
Very nice.
So that mark's just transferred up to here. And you can see there's my 3D bow right there. That's transferred up.
So 2 different model bows.
Correct.
The mark is a little different.
Yes, it is. And that's why you can't go off that. You got to transfer over. And here's my, let's see here. There's my Easton Mason arrow right there. You can see some black Sharpie markers on it. I don't know if you can see them or not.
I can. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why
I've been,
yeah, I've been using that for years. And so that's what I do. And a lot of people just use an arrow. They just got an old arrow laying around. I've had that 3D in there forever. But I've had that. And and I got it jotted down in a book where I'm at. But right now I'm just sitting right. If I take that mark and put it in the draw machine, draw board, and put it to 28 inches, I'm pretty much there.
Right. Yeah, I have one of them. I just I use it with other people that have like bows.
Yeah.
Like
so
if
you
I
can
have 2 different bows, I will definitely use it.
Yeah. So you can see this Sharpie marker. So I take that square and go from the grip back to the string, mark it, then I'll just transfer it up there and take my Sharpie marker right there. So then I'll just put it in the draw board. Yeah. So been doing that for years just to get, right there. And if I need to tweak it some way or another way, obviously, when you start putting strings and cables on stuff, you get it right. And then if you want to play with some holding weight or loosen some limb bolts, if you're too much on weight or too less on weight, that's going to affect it a little bit. So you can get some twist out of a string or whatever, if you want to get you really, really close. But yeah, that's my starting point. The arrow goes in the, draw board. And it has to be 28 inches right to that mark. That's the first thing I do is put a Sharpie marker around the riser. So most likely, if I ever sold a bow, if there's a Sharpie marker on the riser, it's mine.
There you go. Yeah, so, I would say that probably saves a lot of time for a lot of archers. A lot of guys, they base it off of feel, but feel can change, form can change without you even realizing it. Yep. So having that consistency is going to be very key.
Yeah, what I've told everybody, that if you find a bow, however you got there, if you shoot this bow better than anything you've shot, you better write down and document everything.
Yeah.
It's like I put a post on Facebook here a few days ago about that angle finder because I didn't realize where I put my bars at, what angle I was putting them at, because I put them around there until I found that sweet spot. But now I know with that digital angle finder what position my bars are at. So
Digital
I can,
angle finder.
yeah. So I
This
put
is
it in.
different.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So that's it right there.
Holy cow. So can you demo how you're doing this?
Yeah, I can do that. So basically, I put it in my, let's see here. Put this right in through here. Then I will plant my bow to that thing. And obviously, if you look at this bow, my indoor bow, what's the angle on that bar? I don't know for sure. So I put it in here. Let's see here. So I square everything up with a level, and then I get the angle finder and put it right in my bar. And right there, this says 14. My actual angle of this bar is 20 degrees.
Okay. Do you do the other angle as well?
I haven't turned it to the side, but I can turn that side. I usually like to measure off this string, but I know getting it square isn't necessarily the best, but I need to turn it horizontal and get the same angle off this thing.
Okay, that makes sense. It doesn't work left and right.
Yeah, I normally get a level on this bowstring. Stabilizer, I get it both level, this way and this way. I haven't got a level that way now, and then take a measurement. But when I tell everybody, if you find a bow that you absolutely love and you're shooting it awesome, you better document everything under the sun. Brace height, serving size, holding weight, everything under the sun.
Absolutely.
At least you can go back. Huge. Yeah. Not saying I may not work on the other one if a different bow design, but at least you'll be at a starting point where, okay, I can start here. It may not end there, but I can start there.
For sure. Yeah, I've documented a lot, and like for me, I've shot Hoyts forever, and the right, I think it's the right burger hole is usually in line with the grip.
Yep.
And I'll just measure from there to my knocking point. Mm-hmm. And usually, like on certain bow models, like mine's a little different now, but like I would always go to about 25.5 on that true draw before I would change anything. I have a really short draw length.
Yep. But, no, I get it.
Yeah. So that's huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to start. Yeah. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And as far as the angle finder, that's different. So like and measuring from the string to out for the left and right, I think that's pretty important too.
Yeah, it is. And, but I wanted to get a true measurement on what it actually was. So I knew I had to plumb the bow up, square it up, make it level, then get the measurement on that bar. And come to find out when I checked my outdoor bow, my 3D bow, it was pretty much right on the money. You can eyeball things, but with the angle finder, it was like 0.2 off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that can make a difference.
Yeah. Well, so I'm setting up a bow for 40, 50, and 60, in Yankton here in a month and a half or whatever it is.
Yes.
And, or for field or whatever. So by me putting that in there, I can just set that bar right there and it's set. I don't have to guess. I mean, will I change it? I might, but if it's the exact same model bow that I've been shooting indoors, that I'm going to be shooting outdoors, they should react the same. So we're pretty close to it because of weight distribution on everything.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So as far as your bow, I was looking at it and I noticed that you're running your 15-inch off the front and you have it kicked out a decent amount. So for the audience, I feel like a lot of people, they run like a 12-inch on the back
The side.
mount.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us why you would run a 15 off the front and kick it out so far.
So when I shot bow hunter with the back bar, I did have it off the side, off the lower riser. But what I found out that if I go outdoors, I have a bad cant to my top end of my bow. It's gotten better as I lengthen my draw length. But to bring that bubble back into play dead center, outdoors, far as target and field, anything I want to center that bubble up with, even 3D, it helped me quite a bit. I need that leverage to bring that, airplane wing, and it brings that bubble right back into place, brings my grip back in place. And with that 15-inch bar, and where that weight's at, now I've got little extensions I've gotten. So if I want to play with a 12 instead of buying a 15, I just get that little extension on there and try to extend that thing out, or just play with it before I decide to. You can do that with a 30-inch bar also to see if you like a 33. But anyway, it's basically for leverage to get me back out there. And I noticed when I went to that 15 where it's at, my grip felt a lot better during the shot.
Absolutely.
So I obviously changed the grip angle on me a little bit. And I don't use the grip angles on these bows, but it changed it. It felt the reaction. Everything felt better with it. But the reason why I come off that front is it's just as easy. It's easy. I don't have to have a different mount down below. And plus, it gives me the leverage that I need. And actually, I mean, I can get the same spot. I can get that bar in the same spot by bringing it down lower, but then I need a different mount, which I got, it works on all of them. And I can point that leverage anywhere I want. I have dropped that bar down to 20 degrees in the last basically year. I used to have it flat. If you go look at some old Rio Wild and Dave Cousin videos from FIDA, like their bar airplane winged out. And it's like I didn't implement anything that they were doing. It's just like, that's what felt great. It brought that level back into play in the middle. And it felt like that's what I had to do. It's just, I've seen right-handed guys have their sidebar on the other side out of the bow. It's whatever works for you. It's like, a lot of guys bring that sidebar straight back next to their string. It's like, it's however you grip that bow and whatever you got to do. Everybody's hand tension's torque difference, and everybody's alignment's kind of different to make it happen. And so I got one quick disconnect on the front with the front bar and the side bar, and it's easier.
Yeah, I find it interesting. You're running the Conquest 625s.
Yep, that is correct.
And a Bowfinger Ultimate mount.
Yep.
Yeah,
that is correct.
That's pretty much what I'm running. I'm running a 747 and a 625. I just had one laying around, but and I also run mine off the front as well. But I have like a 20-inch back bar that's angled down quite a bit, and it's.
I haven't tried a 20-inch.
Yeah, it's different, but would you say that mounting it off the front for you found that it's a little bit more forgiving, like as the bow is going off, like the reaction of the bow?
Yeah, because it's all about the twisting and the torquing of the bow when everything goes off, and it seems like it's more stable that way.
Absolutely.
It's whatever's repeatable. That seems to be very repeatable for me. So the only thing I tell people is don't get stuck in your ways, to try something different, because to never be satisfied, to never stop improving. You just never know where it'll end. So
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, so bows are manufactured different no matter what company you're talking about, and one bow may like it. It's however it likes you, however you like it, and it's all about. It's like I tell people, when you go to these national tournaments, they ask you for your name and your score. They didn't tell you how you got there. They didn't ask how you got there and what you're shooting. So you got to do everything in your favor to make it happen. It's your job to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So,
but yeah, one thing I
going,
found about this, I was going to say, one thing about, you talked about the conquest stabilizers. The one thing I found nice about them, they're lightweight. And if you go back from the beasting or original freestyle days, it's all about putting that weight where you want them. And the stabilizers bars, the conquest seems a little bit lighter, that you can actually distribute the weight where you want them. And I got to keep that mass weight where I want to dictate where the mass weight goes. And that's why I shoot them.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that, because like I was shooting a different brand bar before the Conquest, and they were very heavy. And immediately when I switched, I was able to, like, on average, like put an extra ounce or two up front compared to what I used to be shooting. And then like my angles changed quite a bit on the back bar, like the way I had to angle it had to change. I had to like move it. But yeah. So what is your tuning process? Like, do you keep it simple, or do you have like a very complex process?
Well, if you look at my indoor bow, it wasn't tuned all season. I will
Terry Ragsdale.
Yeah. I will set the cam time in even. I will set the rests where I think it needs to go. Depends on the size of the arrow. Whether I'm shooting skinnies, 25s or 27s, whatever it is. So I will basically start off shooting through paper, and I'll use a bear shaft also, shooting through paper and see where it ends up at. I had just the other day, I think with the, I don't know what bow it was, but shot great through paper, bear shaft through paper and fletch through paper. And I went out to 20 yards and it's like, oh, I'm in the ways off. I moved my rest. But I'll move my cams too. It depends on but I'll start with a paper tear and go from there. Then I'll shoot a bear shaft at 20 yards and see how close I can get it without me putting an influence. But with my sidebar out there where it's at, sometimes a bear shaft can be kind of a pain in the butt to get to shoot consistently. So I'll get it the best I can at 20 yards. And but I've seen where paper tune went through paper just fine. Bear shafted horrible at 20 yards. Move some adjustments, got it better on bear shaft, and I come back and it's still great in paper. So you can move them a lot on the rest, the cams, everything on paper, through paper. To me, a long ways before it goes out of where you're tearing. So I try to. I'm from the old school of my skinnies, 100 grains. My 25s that I shot 3D, 100 grains. Small point, small vein.
Okay.
So I've been shooting 100 grains for a long, long time. I've not built it up on the front. They shoot great. Yeah. So
now, why is that?
Why is it? Because I'm doing that? I have no reason to change, I guess. I've not dipped into the 150 grain points for not 27s. I shoot 200s. I've been up to 300 before on the old aluminum arrows. But on the outdoor stuff, the 25s for 3D and the skinnies for outdoors. And, I've shot some great 3D scores locally with 100 grain points, 80 grain points. But you got to be careful not to put too big a vein on the back of it. I don't know. It seems to work. So why should I change? I've not had a reason to change. Now, give me a reason to change. Now I'm all for it. I mean, I'm not afraid to change. My 3D arrow weighs 362 grains.
Wow.
Plus, I'm only shooting almost 57 pounds. So I'm not overbowed by any means. And I can make good quality shots because you know as well as I do, it's all about the shots. It's not about the feet per second. It's not about the, saying I can shoot 70 pounds or whatever. You got to a good quality shot on a 3D course and indoors goes a long ways of hiding a lot of stuff. If you can make
100%.
quality shots. And that's all I'm all about. I'm all about making quality, good shots. And if I'm shaking or if I'm having trouble holding it a full draw or whatever, I'm not saying it's hard. It's just, but you get 60 arrows in, you want to make that, them shots matter. So I just stayed old school, small veins on the back, small point, 100 grains, and until it gives me a reason to, and I did have a kick out in Foley, but it didn't go very far. So not so sure, not a four-fletched guy. There's nothing wrong with it. Do your thing. It's just, it's almost like I need that vein touching about right in through here, no matter what game I'm playing. It's that little different feel right there, barely touching.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's with 3-fletch?
Yep. So if I move to a 4-fletch, that would change. The only time I don't get any fletching touching is on the skinnies when I move my vein back and obviously the diameter there. But my 25 and 27, just a little bit of touch right there, just ever so slightly.
It's a nice anchor point, eh?
Yeah. So yeah, you're not getting too far back in your face, and you feel the back of that vein right there. So it works. So
yeah,
it's not perfect, but I'm not so sure anything in archery is perfect. So
right. Well, if you have any advice for someone that wants to shoot in the pro class, what advice would you give them?
I would say do your damnedest to win at the amateur level, because there's no playing in the professional class. It's as simple as that. You better learn how to make shots in the amateur class before you jump into the sharks, because there's no playing. They will take your money and laugh about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a simple.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, learn how to shoot well, and you can shoot well in the professional class, but when you look down that line, it's like, holy crap, look at all this talent. I mean, these guys are awesome. It's awesome archery. So you better learn how to shoot in an amateur class, and learn how to shoot a little bit scared, learn how to shoot a little bit, under pressure, because it's can't miss archery most times, even 3D, and it's can't miss. I don't want, it's not a can't miss attitude. It's just, there's 12 rings out there to be had. There's X rings had indoors and outdoors, and guys are going to hit them. So, and know your equipment.
That's powerful. Well, where can people find you on social media?
Do I want them to find me? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just on Facebook for the most part. I have an Instagram account, but I don't do it. I don't follow it very much, but I'm just usually on Facebook for the most part at Lynn Hoch.
Lynn Hoch.
So,
guys, go follow Lynn Hoch. And Lynn, thank you again. Thank you again for being on the podcast. I'm sure you're going to go to other ASA events this year. Yeah,
my wife actually told me that I'm going to all of them.
Awesome.
She goes,
that's a good wife.
Well, I don't know about that. It's like, I'm not a big, So I booked a flight to Atlanta. I'm not driving. That Foley trip was 16 hours, but it was like 20 hours in a vehicle. It's like, I'm not doing that.
Don't do that again. No.
Yeah, that was miserable.
Over 13, I fly.
Yeah, so I bought a ticket to Atlanta. So I still need to sign up for the tournament, but yeah. And that's part of the reasons I retired, so I can go out and shoot these tournaments. And I was trying to figure out if I can hang with these guys on a 3D course. I thought I could, but you just don't know until you get there. For sure. So yeah, it's a good attitude to have, and that's why you shot so well, because you're just focused on doing the right thing, and
when it boils down to it, the guys that don't make it are probably thinking too much about whatever, and they're not
Yeah.
actually focused on themselves shooting the shot. So,
Yeah. I focus my green pin in the center or green dot and worry about just executing that shot or executing that release the best of my abilities at the time, and hopefully they go there.
there you go. Lynn,
So
it's been an excellent podcast, and
yeah.
everyone listening, go follow Lynn, and we'll see you in the next one.